Ever notice how you can do amazing work and then you can even like deliver and get real results, but then getting paid can feel awkward or even confrontational? Like it just feels weird. Anyway, that's what we're here to talk about today on the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Hey, welcome to the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Have you ever noticed how getting work feels personal, doing work feels overwhelming, getting paid feels awkward, and building wealth feels impossible? It's not because you're bad at business. It's because your business wasn't built for ADHD. Let's change the rules. Hey, welcome back. I'm Jake and Caleb here, and real quick disclaimer, everybody lean in. We are not therapists. We are not we're not accountants, lawyers. This is not like advice that we are actually telling you that we are prescribing. This is just our experience and what we've seen for ourselves, for our friends, for our clients that have ADHD. All right, disclaimer, boring stuff out of the way. All right, Caleb. Today we're talking about the get paid portion. We've talked about get work, do work, and now get paid. And in my experience personally, growing businesses and then now rebuilding a new business over the last 5-6 years and working with my clients, I have found that the getting paid portion of business is actually the hardest. It's the one that actually triggers a lot of our ADHD more than anything, but it's also the easiest to solve. So before we dive in too far and get into that, just have a couple questions real fast. When you're thinking of business and you think get paid, what comes to your mind first? What's the first thing that pops into your brain?
Yeah, so like getting paid from a client, you're saying?
Yeah.
Or you just want to hear the words? If I think get paid, I don't know. I'm probably very different from the average. I think of how is this going to come? Like what form of compensation? Because I deal with people getting equity bonuses, like stocks in the companies they work for all the time. Or I think of okay, the means in which I get pay can really impact the valuation of my business. So in other words, businesses who sell primarily commissionable investments in my industry have gone the way of the dodo bird, right? Sure, you get all the money up front, you get a 5.5% sales charge versus taking out a 1% fee, but then it only sells for 1 times your revenue, and there's no chance that, there is a chance, but perhaps a slim one, that you're going to be able to close that again in the future. So if you greedily take it all up front, not only is it probably worse for the client, but then your own sale value is just nothing. You front loaded it, but then it's worthless at that point.
That's awesome. So everybody listening, we did not prep this at all. I just threw this question on Caleb. We talked right before, we hit record, and I threw this question. He did not see it coming. And one of my favorite things is, it doesn't matter who you are. The words get paid, all of a sudden, our brains just, there's so much built into this, whether it's, okay, the math, well, how does this get at me where I want to go? How is it going to show up? How do I do it? Who do I talk to? Why do I have to? It's funny. It's there's this future hope and this confrontation and thing we don't want to run into right now. Maybe sometimes there's this social obligation, economical obligation. It's just really funny that everybody get paid, get money.
Supposed to be easy, right?
That's how simple it should be. But none of us do that, especially with ADHD. Our brains just go we fly up. We chase every idea, every little hook onto that thing. So thank you, Caleb, because. Perfect.
Evidence of the squirrel in the brain.
Everything that you said is exactly right. But the thing is, just those simple words, get paid, that's what our brains do.
Right.
We take it to the extreme, and we see the whole story in so many variables, and that can be exhausting. If you wake up on a Tuesday morning and you're I got to run invoices, and then your brain starts chasing everything from there, it's just it just becomes insurmountable. It's a mountain we can't climb. Really, it's just for me, click buttons, invoices go out, yay!
Yeah.
If you can get to that point, it's good. So with all of that, Caleb, did you, when you were explaining when you think of get paid, did you feel any stress? Did you feel any overwhelm? I don't know if you did right then. I know that as you were explaining it, I felt a little bit of overwhelm because I was feeling that like, oh yeah, this is a big topic.
Yeah. Well, and it's always tough too, because like it's really just about how you can choose. I mean, it can be overwhelming, and it's very dependent on the stage of the business you're in, right? Like in my industry, if somebody's just starting up, then like you're much quicker to say, well, I really could use that up front, and it doesn't really harm the client at all. It's actually in their best interest in two different ways of looking at it. It is. So why not just take it up front? They're happy. I'm happy. Sure, my valuation isn't really there, and I'm not getting a penny from them again next year, but that's okay. Like we're both in a good place, and I just get to survive another year. Is
Right.
one way of thinking of that. Or once you're established, then you're just like, how do I lay up enough recurring revenue that I'm just constantly getting it all the time?
Beautiful. Yeah. And one thing that I love the thread that you kind of laid there is, um, with ADHD, like expectations. That is huge for us. Like a lot of times, if we don't have clear expectations between us and clients, or with other people, then what happens is in the end we start judging. We feel like we're judged. We feel like, oh no, we weren't sure. Like what happened here. But if the client has clear expectations, if we have clear expectations, then all you have to do is both be honest, and that doesn't feel bad. There aren't a lot of feelings. Like you can externalize it, which we'll talk about, like automated systems and like that. Like you can externalize it if you can get it off of your shoulders, off of your working memory, and out of your emotions, and it can run off to the side, and it can just be honest and just and fair. Because a lot of times we have this like huge like need, this compulsion for justice that sometimes will even fight against us. Oh, I can't charge them that much because I don't feel like I really did the work right or whatever. And we will start negotiating on behalf of the client after we already have an agreement. It's like, stop. Like we had an agreement, hold true, honesty, and stick with it. Anyway, before I start chasing everything in the world, one of the things, the reason that I think get paid is probably the most important. When I teach this framework, it's like, if you're not getting paid, it's a hobby.
Mm.
And that was huge for me when I started this coaching and consulting business. Was there was a few months where I was working on it, I was building this stuff, and I was an amazing employee, but I wasn't getting paid. Even when I was doing work, I wasn't getting around to invoicing timely. I wasn't getting around to all of that I knew I should do, but it just didn't sound fun. Like it was admin boring work, and I just didn't get to it. And I'm gonna, let the cat out of the bag here. There was one point that I started looking back and was like, okay, I need to send in some invoices and stuff. And I had gone past 90 days on a couple invoices. And if you've ever tried to collect an invoice from like 100 days ago, yeah, good luck with that. I mean, try. If you find yourself there, try. But it gets really bad. And then you feel like you let yourself down, then you're embarrassed to go ask for the money, and you start, even sometimes I will feel that if I go past a 30. Like if somebody hasn't paid, and I feel embarrassed for them to try to reach out and kind of re-engage the conversation of, hey, this is a little past due. Anyway, this idea of getting paid, when I realized I have to get paid. If I'm going to call myself a business, if this is going to be a business that I'm growing, money has to come in. Hobbies eat resources, businesses bring in, they build resources. So it's like, okay, it's going to be a business, so we have to get paid. And then kind of when I went from there, I've now looked back and I realized that the get paid portion of your business is the most rule bound part of the business, right? We can experiment in marketing and sales. We can do that. You can optimize and tinker and, figure out how you're going to do work. You can add new products and stuff like that. But when it comes to like getting paid, there are rules, regulations, there are a lot of things that come to the point where if you're getting paid from clients, if you are paying your vendors, if you have HR, payroll, things like that you're doing, like, and taxes, this is all inside of that get paid, that financial flow of everything. And it's like, if you do marketing wrong, you apologize and have a conversation with somebody. That's about as bad as it can go. I mean, there are some things where you can break the law, depending on the constraints of your industry. Doing your work, you know what? You might have to burn a weekend and make up something that you messed up. Take a second pass at a project or something like that, finalize something. But when it comes to getting paid, if you do that wrong, you go to jail. Like, Like, you either go broke, you're bankrupt, or you're in jail, right? You don't pay your taxes because time blindness and I forgot, oh, hey, it's May, I forgot to pay my taxes. Like, that's really bad, if you forget these things. So that's why I say it's the most frustrating. It's the scariest one. It's the hardest one because it has the highest stakes and the lowest flexibility, which we know is like a recipe for ADHD friction spikes. Like, we don't want to go, oh, look, there are a lot of rules and I can't have, like, there's not much fun in this space. All of our executive functions, we're going to run from it, we're going to forget to do it, we're going to delay, procrastinate. So, like I said, it's hard. And I know I still, anytime I have to get in there and look at this portion of my business, it is just boring. And there are parts of it that I've been traveling a lot lately, and I know that it gets, so I'll say, I use Gusto. I'm going to jump ahead to our next episode, but I use Gusto for my payroll, and it's just me. I'm the only employee. I pay my contractors and stuff through there, everything. And I get an email. I open the email. I click one button, and it runs payroll. It takes me a minute, and I still will find myself going, I'll get to it later. Like, no. 1 minute, I know I get paid. How hard is that, Jake? Come on. But it's not fun. It's like, I mean, I've been sitting in the back of an Uber or something going to the airport. It's like, there is no reason that I can't just click this button and take care of something that is big in my business, big for my family. I can pay my contractors, I can pay me, everything's fine. But for whatever reason, I just don't want to right now. It's not fun, it's not inviting, it's hard to do. I'm sure you felt that too, Caleb, that just there are things that we know to do, we know how to do them, we know how important they are, but they are just boring as snot, right?
Oh my word, yeah. Well, and especially if it's not like some big immediate payday either. Like if you do have something that's more recurring, sometimes just getting that set up is even harder. It's like, oh yay, I'm going to get this tiny little bit of money this month and next month and the month after that. Okay, let me go do the paperwork for it. But then when you actually think about it, like, dang, this adds up to something meaningful this year and all the next years.
Yep.
As long as,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite tools in this aspect is you try not to, it's a kind of a mindset. You think about it and you go, if you will make a decision, like a blanket decision, and then just let it ride. So the idea is you make the decision once. So you're not making decisions every time you have to do something. And that's the idea of, like, you can delegate, you can automate. The idea is you're going to externalize it. You decide one time and it's no longer on your shoulders. That is one of my favorite things to do in life in general, is just be like, okay, I'm going to decide that this happens. But you don't make the decision for that little moment. For instance, like I said, I mentioned Gusto. I went into that for my payroll. It handles all of my stuff. So it's like, I don't have to decide. I don't have to pay attention to payroll. I don't have to do all, like, it is literally set up to where I get an email and a text message. All I have to do is decide to click that button and go in. And I have it on a rhythm. It hits me, and then, I actually get 3 reminders because there are times that it's like, it hits me on a Tuesday, and I'm like, oh, whoops, I forgot. And Wednesday, Friday, like it hits me multiple times. I set that up. Actually, went back. I didn't set that up. My bookkeeper set that up because I knew that I was going to let myself down. And this goes back to those expectations. Like, be honest about the expectations and pick the tools, make the decisions. And then if you go, there's a chance I'm going to need 3 reminders. I don't get the 3 reminders every month. I only get the 3 reminders. I only get the second reminder after the first one. And I don't take action. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, I built in that system, but I don't want to get the reminders. Like, in my mind, I've learned that, if I get the second reminder, like, I'm interrupting myself again. Like, that's kind of how I think of it, is like, I'm interrupting myself. Anyway, so when we're thinking about this get paid, there's a lot that goes into it. We talked about the different executive functions that we can trigger. And like activation, just starting. Like, how many times is it like, that's an admin task, I'll just do it later. And even when it's reaching out to people, like just following up on an invoice or something, to make yourself have the courage, the clarity, the confidence, and the emotional stability to go, I need to follow up with somebody, and this might be a bad conversation. And we
Mm,
just assume it's a bad conversation leaning in. Well, again, like I said, when you can externalize this and have a system that sends your invoices and follows up, like, you have to have a plan for like collecting late due type stuff, or even if you're, recurring and you're billing them before the month happens or something, or before the year, like, if they don't pay on time, you just have to have a plan for following up with that. And a lot of it can be automated. That is what made a huge difference for me, was going, I made a decision for how I wanted this to go. Now I'm going to let the robot do it.
yeah.
I'm going to let my email. I'm going to let the software manage those conversations, because I did find myself a couple times. It's like, oh, they're late to pay. Well, they probably can't. Like, I start thinking about their story, creating this fake story about why they haven't paid me or why they can't pay me, and
Right.
then I ended up just not following up and never got paid. And I actually walked away from relationships early, years ago, and was like, wait a minute, I never gave them the opportunity. Like, maybe they forgot, maybe they changed banks, maybe something went,
Right.
maybe their credit card got compromised, or their debit card got compromised, and they just didn't know that I was still that's how we were connected. And I thought, I made up a lot of stories, and in order to avoid any possibility of rejection, I just walked away.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of times that I think that's pretty extreme. And I don't think everybody gets there, but there are a lot of these. We've talked about rejection sensitivity dysphoria, this idea like we kind of expect to be rejected, so we dodge conversations where we might, or we lessen the blow, hoping that we'll be liked more, like changing your invoice, or not charging what we should, um, which comes up like one of the best ways that I think you can fix the get paid is to have itemized pricing. So it's like if you can productize, and even when you're service based, you can say, if you think, I like to think of it as like Legos. Like, these are the Legos, these are the things that I do, and this is what they cost. And then you say, okay, well, if these 10 Legos come together, it's a set. And that set costs this much. And then when you end up with something that looks a little custom or whatever, you can build quickly what that value of that product is. So, for instance, a lot of people with ADHD struggle because billing hourly,
Mm,
because we have time blindness. That means what takes me 4 hours this month might take me 12 hours next month.
yeah.
Well, how do you go back to a client and say, well, yeah, you owe me 3 times as much this month? Like, now we start going, well, I don't know. If it's fewer hours, we feel guilty, like we're stealing. Like, there's this weird, like we feel like bad people for asking for more money because it was easy. But then when it's really, really hard, we feel guilty because we didn't do our best. We feel like we let somebody down. So then we feel bad for charging for the time that it took. And what I usually recommend is log your time to make sure, like, keep track of your time to make sure that you're profitable. How much are you putting into your business for this month? Are your prices profitable? But then if you can find a way to charge not by the hour, or you can have the conversation ahead of time and let people know, like, hey, sometimes a job takes more. This is what I estimate, but sometimes a job, they fluctuate. And then you give yourself the grace to know that we don't operate on time like most people. We operate on energy. So it goes, okay. See, like that, just the time blindness, that triggers a bunch of psychology and emotional baggage into just getting paid. Like just sending an invoice. What's the number on the invoice? Well, again, if you can agree ahead of time and have clear, honest expectations of yourself, and the client can have those, then it can be automated. When the job's done, it just sends the invoice. And there's not a conversation about it. It's calculated and sent. And
Yeah.
for me, like you mentioned before we got on the call, Caleb, about well, how do you try to approach this? Because you'd mentioned that like it's not on your shoulders to like bill every month or whatever. Like how are you handling it?
Yeah, yeah, I'll answer that, but I've been thinking a little bit about the legal industry too. When I comment on that briefly, I have enough friends who are attorneys, mostly in the estate planning realm, but that's interesting. For me, basically, just getting everything to recurring as much as possible is just the way to go, right? Number one, it's typically better for the clients. Not always. It depends on really what the product is, right? I think getting away from that hourly model, unless it's literally an hour of my time. Like I'm a big fan actually of just doing an hourly $300 consult with people. Hey, maybe you don't want to pay an advisor's full fee every single
Right.
year. Maybe you're not in a position, but like so easy to provide somebody with multiples of that $300 buy-in that even just a tax savings alone. Like, okay, there you go. You're happy. I'm happy. I don't have like any follow-up besides sending you an
Absolutely.
AI generated email from our time together. And I didn't really have maybe a little bit of work upfront if you uploaded it, but then that's it. Like it's literally my time. There's no time blindness element, but then productizing the rest of my offerings as a service business. Um, so that's kind of what I was thinking of the law firm too. And it's different, I feel like, for my clients who are more contractors or like I have one who's a safety professional and they'll do like seminars places like here's how to not die on a forklift or at a construction site or in a factory. Here's how to resuscitate your buddy if he tries to die in one of these settings. And it's very interesting. Like you just bill as a product, and then whether it takes us the 4 or the 12 hours to do it, that's on us. But we know that the product itself is profitable, and so I kind of handle my annual fee that way too. Like, hey, it's either just a flat like the fee is going to be between 2 to 12 grand based on complexity. And I know however many hours it takes me to do, I need to bill somewhere appropriately for that. But then it might take me more or less, and I can kind of do the work whenever. I think to your question, though, I just try to change that generally to like monthly. Like somebody's a $2,400 client, boom, that's $200 a month. Nice and simple for them. They barely notice it. I barely notice it. You get enough of those laid up in time, and it's pretty great for both parties. But yeah, the law firm,
Absolutely.
like nobody does the whole, all right, talk quick. The timer's ticking on the phone here on the meter at the attorneys. Like I literally don't know any attorneys who do that now. And if they do hourly, it's just a console like I described. Like come in and tell me what's going on. Most of the time, like, hey, a will is $500. I'll go take 20 minutes to punch it into my Microsoft Word template that I have and email it to you. You'll ask me to tweak it, and I'll do that in 5 minutes and send it back, and that's that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like you brought up that kind of 1 hour consult, that kind of, it's kind of like that entry offer where it's,
Mhm.
you know, you don't need to buy a big package or recurring or retainer type thing. But if a client doesn't need to buy that, you can do a one off. I actually call mine Jake on demand. And it's this idea that
Yeah.
it's like, I will show up to the call and I will bring all of me. I just don't know what we're talking about before the call. And at the end of the call, I don't have any responsibilities necessarily at the end of the call, but you have full access to me during that time. And it's great. And I have a lot of fun in those. It's a great offer. I meet a lot of people that way. And it's actually a good lead in to people that get an experience. It's kind of like, you ever go to, like, you're at the mall or whatever, and there's like the lady with the chicken on the toothpick giving you the sample, and you end up buying food. Like, it's kind of that as well. It's like, hey, it's the starter.
Oh
They
yeah.
get used to it, they engage with you, and then they go, okay, this isn't what I was expecting, but I got something, you know, this was better, this was good. I got what I wanted out of this. And it's kind of like a free, not, it's like a free sample, but it's a paid sample to get moving. And then
Hmm.
if it's all that they need, you served them, you helped them, and again, you're not just in the friend zone giving away free stuff all the time. So I
Right.
do love that point. So thank you for throwing that in there.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think in some ways it's kind of more honest and transparent too, because like I've heard it from people with whom I've done that kind of a call with. They're like, "Oh, thanks, man. This has been great. I learned so much about my situation. Let me become an ongoing client." Super. That sounds good. Yeah, I talked to this other advisor. He didn't charge me anything for the call, which just felt kind of sketchy. Like, how was he going to make that money up on the back end? He was just trying to get in my wallet with product sales or like, I don't know. Maybe that's in a
yeah,
service business, right? But I hear that with attorneys too. Like people don't trust them if they're sometimes just trying to give away too much for free. They're like, "What's the catch?"
and it's this idea that if somebody is charging us for a little, I mean, it depends on industry and stuff, but I found that if I charge for little things, then people are like, you're a business. They feel
Mhm.
like I'm being more honest. I'm not going to bait and switch at some point. So
Right.
there are a lot of times I'm like, well, this is a friend conversation. This is a business conversation. Like, do I blend the two? Yes. I mean, you and I have had a lot of this conversation, but it's like there are times that it's like just being upfront that, yeah, this is a business. This is what I do professionally. Oh, okay. Like, I'm honest. I'm upfront. The expectation is set. And then you don't have all the awkward dancing later on trying to convince your friend to pay you for something that they just thought you were being friendly. That's been I've seen that happen a lot, especially with late diagnosed ADHD. We spent so much of our life trying to be liked and fit into the group, and then asking for people to pay us is hard. Sometimes, like, shifting those gears is hard. Whoops. Anyway, so I'm going to move quickly on some of this other stuff. The idea of getting paid, that whole admin section, like, it is low dopamine. Because in our mind, once we close the sale, that's when we get the dopamine. We very rarely get dopamine. Like, maybe if you get the ping that, like, a payment was made in your bank account or something like that, you might be like, oh, yay. But it's nowhere near what closing the sale was. So sending the invoice, getting it paid, all that kind of stuff, like, there isn't a big dopamine hit there. So we avoid it. It's not fun. And then again, it's all admin tasks. So it's one of those things that's like, our executive functions just don't want to do it. So we don't have fuel to start, and there's no instant reward. It's just basically like, well, there's money. And I found this in my mind. It's kind of like squirrels hiding nuts. You know that they're out there somewhere. And it's like when I had invoices out, or when I knew that people agreed and they owed me money, somehow in my mind that was my money in their bank account that I had never asked for. And I had to, like, realize, like, they might not realize that's my money, and they might go spend it somewhere else. They might forget that we had an agreement. So that this idea of, like, getting it, like, somehow, if it was an asset, it just wasn't in my control. And I had to realize that that's how I was approaching a lot of the money stuff. And I needed to get paid. I needed to get in my accounts so that, I'm getting the interest. It's not my money until it's my money.
Yeah.
Same thing with paying bills. Like, I had to make sure that I paid them because that's my credit, my honor, of making sure that everything is paid on time. Accounts payable is just as important because you burn those bridges and you're in trouble.
Dude, I got to tell you a quick story if I can, like 30 seconds. This old farmer at church, man, he technically a farmer, yes, but really his business was grain trading. So, like, here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, Amish everywhere, right? But, like, humongous farms run by Englishers like us. And so he had, like, multiple silos. He would just store grain in and then trade it. But he's not just like a farmer. Like, he would buy different options and commodities futures to hedge his position. So he had some sophistication. And he's old now, like in his 80s. Just a tremendous, fast-moving guy. Had a phone installed in his bathroom, like a landline, in case he got a call while he was there for the business. Just, like, cracks me up. But he told me he fired one of his mechanics one time that he would, like, take his personal car to for maintenance because they refused to bill him. It took them like a month to bill him, and he would, like, call them every couple of days. Hey, where's my bill? I want to pay my bill. I want to get squared up and settled. And like, oh yeah, we'll get it. So then he wound up changing mechanics literally because they wouldn't. And that just always stuck with me. Like, here's this, like, successful but hard charging, honest dude who's just like, I want to pay my dang bill. Can you hurry up and get it to me?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, and especially, like, if we're worried about our working memory and remembering to remember things, well, send your invoices because they don't need to remember to pay you. And if they don't remember to pay you and they pay everybody else first and then you send your invoice or you ask them, hey, where's my money? And they go, well, I don't have any money. Now you're looking at it going, I had one client that I was late on invoicing, and this is a previous business I was running. I was late on invoicing. Well, that business got sold. And in that mix of that business getting sold, there were no bank accounts for me to call on. So it was just kind of like, oh, so do I get a lawyer? Do I chase this? Do I do everything? Or do I just say, man, that was ADHD tax. Like, man, I messed that one up. Okay, lesson. That was an expensive education right there. So I had to decide between those two. And honestly, the faster one was just to get back to work. Just write that one off and get back to work and, be open and honest to everybody that it affected. Luckily, we were able to, we survived well. Everything was okay. But, that was a 5 figures that would have been a lot nicer in our bank account. Not in the Jake ate a bad burrito and forgot to call a client. That. That's basically what I had to tell everybody is what I did.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it is fascinating. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're saying, like, just in the middle of the sale too. Like, I'm constantly thinking from the private equity world. Just I helping up business owners exit and take those kinds of packages. I mean, that's I'm not trying to pour salt on your wound in any way, but like it's not just the invoice, but it's probably like a 5x or whatever your sale multiple was. Like that's constantly what I'm the kind of ways that people talk in my industry. Like the biggest reason is you can go from like a 1x or a 2x sale value of the business. So if you make 100 grand a year, you sell it for 100 grand or 200 grand. Whereas just if you only have recurring revenue, people are getting 9 to 13 times. Like 100K is very different from 1.3 million. Like there's other factors involved, but like that's a big
Yep.
deal.
And that's kind of, it's like if you're getting paid on paper, if you can prove that you're
Hmm.
getting paid. And the other thing is that system, like I talked about before, like getting it off you. And the reasons I keep talking about that, externalizing it, is so here's kind of the breakdown of the ADHD specific patterns when it comes to getting paid. Time blindness, we talked about that, and that hourly, time blindness plus hour equals chaos. And at the
Hmm.
same time, that time blindness, we will forget that a month has gone by, that 2 months have gone by. We just remember, oh yeah, we need to run invoicing, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, I haven't done it in 2 months. Like, we don't need to carry that on our shoulders. That is that is depending on a weakness of ours. And I just believe anytime you can find a weak, don't set yourself up to fail. Don't set yourself up to have that friction. Find a system, software, a bookkeeper, somebody that, a fractional person, a temp. Just find not a temp, a part-time person. Like, find somebody that will help you. I do not recommend giving your financials to a temp. Just to be clear, I misspoke. It's not what I meant. And then the other, like, if you have we have inconsistent energy, right? Our energy kind of fluctuates at different times. Well, if our energy is inconsistent, then our income becomes inconsistent, and recovering that income, getting paid, following up with people, like, that becomes inconsistent,
Hmm.
which is just going to add more stress, and then the whole thing starts to unravel. Um, and then if you can make those decisions ahead of time, and if you can productize, and like you said, if you can get on, if your business model leans toward a retainer or toward a 6 month agreement and it's paid in installments, if you can do that, then you don't have to think, am I being fair? I don't want to bother them. You don't have to, all these social aspects that we've struggled with at times, and we don't have to worry about being rejected or anything like that. Like, it's just set up. There's an agreement, and it's just set and it's billed. And for me, like, I'm similar to you. Most of my clients, I have my one-offs. I have those fun things that I do, and I have some other random things that pop up. But for the most part, I would say probably 85, 90% of my revenue is a monthly payment. And they require invoices that are sent, and then I get paid through Gusto or something. Like, there's some kind of ACX, like there's the, like, digital payment that comes in. And to be honest, when I started my business, I went with PayPal because it was so stinking easy. Did I leave money on the table? Yes. Did I ever forget to invoice someone? No. And to me, that was worth it to start with. I've done PayPal and Stripe. I've used those as well. But this idea of, you get it broken into these payments, they get used to the payment. That's easy on them, and it's automated. So
Hmm.
it's every month, it's just sent. And then, you know what? I send my invoices on the same day every month, and they're automated. Like, I have my system that it just sends them out to the client. It knows what the amount is, and it sends them out. And it's great because I don't have to remember to do it. And it's a lot more fun when you get a text or you get an email that says, "Oh, this invoice was paid," and you're like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even do it." Like, so the thing is, I did that months ago. Set up that software, that system months ago. Let me back up. I got on a phone call with my bookkeeper who set it up. I
Oh yeah,
basically co-worked. I sat there and answered the questions, and somebody else did it for me.
that's
Right?
smart.
So all of that was set up, and I just watched. And now I made all of those decisions and said, I'm going to trust this to work. And now I don't have to think about invoices. I don't have to send invoices. I don't have to ask people where their invoices are unless it goes extreme, because there's already a follow-up sequence. Like, and it's not expensive. I mean, even Wave. Like, there's one called Wave that for most service providers works great. You can
Hmm.
set up automatic invoicing, like recurring invoicing, through Stripe as it is. Like, you can just set up, like, they can set it payment, but it sends them a new invoice every month. You can set up on PayPal, and on PayPal, I think it's called a subscription. And what it does is, however long, say you do it every month, it will send them an invoice, and then they pay it right then. And every month, it just sends them basically a PayPal invoice. I'm jumping ahead. These are all next episode topics. But anyway, this idea of, if you Like, with ADHD, a lot of times money leaks, like out of your business. Like your business will just start leaking money if it's not tracked cleanly. And if it's up to us to track everything cleanly and remember to track it and then to keep up with it, like, we're going to let ourselves down. So I can't say it as much. Like, the first thing I tell people to hire is, like, when you're starting a business, or if you have a business, like, you should have a lawyer that you can contact. You should have somebody handling your money. And then when you get big enough, HR help. Like, you look at those things, and the reasons I start there is because those are very rigid things that the government and people put on us. They are very easy ways to go to jail if you break the law. So I'm like, pay people to keep you out of jail, and then we'll figure out the rest of the business. Like, we'll figure out the rest of that. Okay. So the idea here is really getting paid. We think of it as admin work that we have to do. And it's hard, and we feel like it's the grown-up work that, we just have to do it. And like I said, I just encourage everybody, it's the first one you can get rid of. You can automate it to software. It's not super expensive. And when I thought about it, it was like the time it would take me to do invoicing every month, like, I can go sell something else. Like, that's way better use of my time, And then getting paid is where kind of our identity in our business, there's a lot of emotion and the law. They all collide in this one section of our business. And that's why I say, don't shoulder it. Like, what do you have to do? What is the minimal? How can you simplify it? Like we talked about, productize and recurring. If you can get on a retainer, then you have a system that manages it for you. Now you're not losing sleep. You're not waking up at 3 a.m. going, oh, I forgot to send an invoice. And like panicking, or did I send that invoice? And you gotta like pull up a spreadsheet and look over here and going through your sent emails. Like we don't deserve that. There are robots, there's software that'll handle it for us.
And fun fact, mortgage brokers will even let you borrow more money to buy a bigger house if they see this. Not everyone goes this deep into the weeds on it, but like, they will analyze your income and your revenue and say, okay, yeah, this is stable and we can support it. Sure, I know you send invoices to people, maybe not as much, but subscriptions, like, that's why stocks like Netflix and Amazon with Prime out there, like, that's part of why they're so expensive in the market right now. And mortgage brokers will let you borrow more if they see more subscription fees.
The idea is that beyond that, recurring revenue, subscription, stuff like that, that is a bunch of future sales that you don't have to make. So business gets lighter. But just this idea of getting the money that is due you, like, that you have already agreed that you get, like, you don't have to you don't have to burn your executive functions to get paid for what you've already agreed to. And it's not necessarily an interpersonal relationship thing where you feel like, oh, I'm being a bad guy, I'm talking about this. Like I said, system. A lot of people already have this one figured out. But just the idea of, if you don't, that's fine. Just changing the way that you think about it, as when a sale is made, there's an agreement, and then just the money changing hands is just part of business, but it's not necessarily part of the relationship. And that was the huge step for me, was I can have great relationships with my clients, and the money changing hands happens over there. And then it didn't tarnish how I was treating people or how I felt, or avoiding them or them avoiding me. Anyway. Okay. So do you have anything else that you want to add to this one, Caleb?
No, I think that's good for this time.
All right. Well, again, we're going to let you guys go. All of the hit like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mom. If you're running a business and your spouse doesn't understand you, maybe have them listen to this, and they'll have a clearer view of the kind of the ordered chaos that we all kind of live in with our brains. Anyway, hey, share the love. Like I said, like, subscribe, send us some messages, comment, and remember, it's your business. Let's change the rules. Hey, welcome to the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Have you ever noticed how getting work feels personal, doing work feels overwhelming, getting paid feels awkward, and building wealth feels impossible? It's not because you're bad at business. It's because your business wasn't built for ADHD. Let's change the rules.